practice better health, we welcome Mary Walter, a true warrior of self advocacy. After years battling chronic UTIs and facing endless medical frustration, Mary's journey led her through faith, holistic healing, and even cutting edge phage therapy. Her story is a powerful reminder that healing isn't just about medicine, it's about persistence, courage, and never giving up on yourself. So, welcome, Mary. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and that was a lovely introduction.
Thank you so much. And Mary, so many people feel lost when their health struggles don't fit into easy solutions. What was the
Yes.
moment you realized you had to become your own best advocate?
Um, so when I very first was diagnosed with this, like the first positive culture that I had, it was already incredibly resistant, and I had no oral antibiotic options. They put me in the hospital on IV antibiotics, and they told me that I would need a urologist, but I would also need an infectious disease doctor.
Mhm.
And finding my urologist, my first one that I had, didn't take very long. I mean, it was like I just, was like, "Hey, I need a urologist," and she picked me up. It wasn't the best option, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. But when I started looking for an infectious disease doctor, I got through about 30 of them and was like, I don't know what to do anymore, because
Yes.
they would tell me, yes, we'll see you, send us your stuff, and, we'll talk and whatever. And I would, have everything faxed to them. And then, they would call me back and be like, oh, yeah, no, we can't help you. And between that and sometimes, on the original call, I would say, do you take my insurance? Because, here in the US, it's different. Every all these different insurance systems, not every doctor takes every insurance. And they would say, yes, we take your insurance. And then again, after I would fax them things, they'd be like, oh, no, we don't take your insurance, or
Oh,
you're not within my specialty. And so, like I said, I had a list, and there was about 30 of them that I had called, and I was like, we're going to have to do something different here, because I was losing, like, there was no more doctors within like a 50-mile radius of me that allegedly took my insurance. And I was like, I'm going to have to do something else here, because I, I can't get help. And then my urologist that I did have when I first started out, uh, it did not, pretty much, probably by the first or second visit, I probably should have went, maybe I should look somewhere else. But I was very, I don't want to say I was critical, but emotionally, I was just like, I'm a mess and I need help. So, and since she came recommended and she took my insurance and she could get me in, I just went there. But like her bedside manner and the way that she did some things, I should have just said, you know what, this isn't going to work, and kept looking. But I stayed there for a while. But it was at that point that I was like, I'm going to have to figure out something different to do for myself.
yes, yes. And that decision of your own healing is so brave and not something that many people can realize that they can do. So that step is really, really a brave step. And you have explored both traditional medicine and holistic approaches, including phage therapy. How
Yeah.
did you negative those navigate those crossroads?
Oh my gosh. It's all been very, very interesting, because well, luckily I got in some really good support groups. very early on for people that had chronic UTIs or very, very resistant UTIs. There's one in the States, it's ESBL and resistant UTI, something like that. And I got in there and I made a lot of friends, and it was really crazy to me that like I have met two or three people that are like within 20 miles of me that have the same thing that I do, that are going through the same thing. And and they were all like, "Girl, we'll tell you everything we've done." And so, I just started taking notes. You did this, you did this, you did this. How did this work for you? Did this not work for you? And oh, you see this doctor? Okay, give me his number. And that was just kind of how a lot of it started. I was the first one in our little friend group to try phage therapy. Because I was like, I've got to do something here to try to break some of the resistance off of the bug. And it was a whole other learning curve of you're essentially shipping a biohazard internationally. So trying to properly package this, and then you have to get a special box from FedEx, and then you have to write all over the box that it's a human sample so that they don't like run it through X-ray or whatever. And then you have to wait 5 to 10 days or more for them to get it, and then waiting for them to test it, and then getting your results. It's not a fast process, but it's been one that has really helped me so far. So I'm glad that I did it. And now one of my other friends in the friend group, she's doing it as well.
Okay.
So we're all just like in this together, trying to navigate this disease that no one seems to really acknowledge.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And the way you held space for both science and intuition is something that many people can relate to also. So, was there a moment when you questioned if you are on the right path?
Oh, like every day. Every day. Every day, because there are because there's so little that is actually like between the scientific research and the medical education, there's such a gap there. And in the way that they treat patients like me, like they still want to give a 3 to 5 day course of antibiotics. A 3 to 5 day course is not going to do anything for someone like me. It's just not. And so um trying to, there are some doctors, excuse me, that will give you the long-term full dose antibiotics, but I run into roadblocks with that because I started having some pretty bad side effects, whether they were on one of them I had like cardiac side effects, and on another one I had shortness of breath, and then my throat was starting to close. I was like, "Oh, we're not going this route."
Yes.
So I still have moments where, because I have another friend who wants me to try something different, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that or not. And I'm just really, it is every day. It's like, I just have to trust the Lord and just keep going at it, just not give up, not quit, and just keep doing it.
Yes, yes. I think there is everyone has a point when they question themselves, but the way you overcome it, that is commendable. That makes you you.
Yes.
So you have also leaned into faith as part of your healing. So how has spirituality supported you emotionally and physically through these years?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't even know that I mean, you I wasn't prepared for that question because I could write a book on that, and I don't even know where to start. Um, but I've always been a Christian, and I've always believed that, the Lord walks with us and the Lord walks with me. And I, when I very first got diagnosed, it hit me hard. And I was like, I am young. I have a young son. Like, where did this come from? And what am I going to do to overcome this? And there have been so many times now that I've moved further along in my journey, um, both with the UTIs and with the Lord, that I can look back now and I'm like, oh, that was Jesus. that was the Lord. Looking back on, I wasn't supposed to do that because that would not have been good,
Hmm.
and um things that I, would get my hopes up for that didn't work out. And I was like, oh, I see why now, and it doesn't always happen the way we want it to or in our timing. But things tend to have a way of sorting themselves out. And I give that to the Lord because again, I have days even now where I'm just like, why am I dealing with this? I mean, other than the UTI stuff, I'm a healthy person. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. I'm not pre-diabetic. I'm a little overweight, but not much. I go to the gym.
Yeah.
I try to eat fairly healthy, and I'm just like, why do I have this terrible disease? And I know that some people are like, it's a UTI. What are you talking about? Well, UTIs are one of the top, um, what is it, like reasons, causes for like sepsis and undiagnosed, untreated UTIs.
Mm.
And I have the bacteria that causes that in my bladder all the time. Like it never leaves. And so, and I have to deal with symptoms of that, symptoms of UTI like every day because like I said, they won't treat it, but getting off in the getting off in the weeds here, but it's just, trying to I guess just trying to tell people that don't understand the gravity of the situation that it is a severe condition and that, there are women that I know that lay in bed for, they basically become bedridden because of it, because it's just so painful. You get up, you try to eat, try to take care of your kids. You're just a ghost of your former self and, go back to bed. But I just try to, for me, worship music does it. I turn on my worship music and I start praising him. And I'm like, I got to get out of bed. I got to get out of bed and I got to get this day going. And that's just, that's about the best I can do with it.
And the way you held your faith is deeply moving. And I also have just mentioned that not many people talk about UTI, or they just ignore this fact, but this is not a topic that should be ignored. And
Right.
you just came and now you talk about it, and I think so many listeners will be thankful to you, also get inspired if they also have something to talk like this, or maybe they are facing the same issues like you, so this can deeply move them. So thank
I,
you for that too. And
yes, thank
uh,
you.
did your faith change or deepen as you face this ongoing challenges?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's been all over the place. I have went from, like every time I would get a bad result, I would be I'd be mad, I'd be upset, I'd be like, what now? What are we doing now? And then um every time I would get a better result, like blood work looking a little better, I would just, be over the moon, excited and praising and whatever else. And I'm just like, I need, even when I get the bad results now, I realize I have to praise him because I'm like, it could be worse. And like I said, I do have my health on my side in that, like I said, I'm young, and other than this, I'm healthy. I don't have any of the, the comorbidities that a lot of people have. Um, so I really have to try to remind myself of that. But I have a cross necklace that I wear all the time. And I'm always trying to be mindful. And I, they say to count your blessings. And if you start looking for your blessings, you will find them. If you live, like when I get a bad result, one of the last results I got was bad, and it messed with me for a little while, and I had to stop and go, Mary, when you look for the bad, that's all you're going to find. That's like, when, kids are, look like, when they're younger, teenagers, they want a certain car. They see that car everywhere. Everybody in town has one. But when you start looking for the good, when you start looking for your blessings, you will find them in places you never thought that you would. And that to me is just like, I have to keep reminding myself, like, I'm healthy, my son's healthy, my family's healthy. We have a roof over our head and food in our bellies, and there's a lot of people that don't have those liberties. So I have to be thankful and just trust in the Lord, and I'm just going to keep pushing forward.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful. And you are a wonderful person.
Oh,
And
thank you.
chronic illness brings emotional burnout sometimes.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
what practices helped you to maintain your peace and mental health during those setbacks?
So I have a couple of different things I do, like when I get like a bad result, or just when I feel like I'm spiraling. For one, like I said, I turn on my worship music, and I know that somebody may be like, okay, Mary, you've said that already, but like when I was not so much in the church, or following the Lord, I listened to a lot of harder rock music, but I have noticed that when I listen to that music, it puts me in the worst headspace for me personally. So I'm like, even though I may want to listen to that music, I don't need to listen to that music because I know that it's going to make me feel worse. So I will put on music that I know is uplifting, that's going to make me feel good. I like to take my son to the park, and we'll go for a walk. We might walk a mile or two. I'll take his little scooter, and he rides his scooter while I walk, and just getting, fresh air. And, the sky is blue, the leaves are green, the birds are chirping, and it's good to, just get out, walk, go to them, and just pick up some heavy stuff. you know just try to sweat it out, if you will.
Yeah.
Just try to get over it. And I used to have a bad habit of I was like, I need ice cream because I am sad. But I have found that ice cream doesn't doesn't do well with my body now. It makes my bladder very angry. So I try to avoid the ice cream, but just getting out, and the friends that I have made within the UTI community, like I've learned that I can reach out to them. I can lean on them. If I get a bad result, first thing I'm doing, I'm calling Leah. I'm like, Leah, and, just learning to really lean on my friends. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've had friends before, but it's different when your friends and suffer from the same ailments. Because some of my other friends would just be like, I'm really sorry you're going through this, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes.
So
That's what. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, you speak.
Okay, I was just saying it's just nice to have friends that really understand, what you're going through and what you're dealing with, that they can be like,
Yes.
"Oh, I know. I've done that too," and I've had it and, things like that. So it's been very
Yes.
helpful to have them on.
So like it's very nice that we find out that what gives actually us peace and practice that the way you did that. Ice cream does makes you happy but not good for your health. So if you want
Yes.
peace, then you have to leave ice cream, although it gives you happiness but not good for your health. So that's wonderful. And also, what advice would you offer to someone who is on the brink of giving up right now?
Don't. Just don't do it. I know it's hard. I know that the road is long and hard and lonely, but don't do it. You may not have the energy today to get on your phone or your computer and try to start looking for different ways to help yourself. Just give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace and rest today. Try your best to just take care of you a little bit more because you are important. And then if you want to try again tomorrow and just, start like whatever your condition is. There are tons of groups on Facebook for people that suffer from the same ailment. Um, if you have UTIs, there are so many UTI groups on Facebook, um, as well as in the UK, they have liveUTIfree.com,
Mm.
and then, or it might be .org, I'm not sure. But here in the US, we have letstalkuti.org, and these websites have information on different doctors that you can contact, uh, like what's the difference in an acute infection versus chronic infection. Um, what are my next steps? What do I do to help myself? Both of these websites are very good for finding that information, but don't give up because you are needed. You are here for a reason, and our Father says that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you have a purpose. Right now things may look bleak, but tomorrow is a whole new day. So just hang on, hang in there, and we will muddy through it.
Yes, yes, that's so powerful. I think our words were so powerful to like enthusiast all our listeners. And if someone is going through that, that will help them too. And also looking back, how has your definition of health evolved from where you started?
Oh wow. Well, I feel like I was relatively healthy to begin with. I was a little more overweight, but I ate good, and like I said, I wasn't going to the gym at the time because my son was smaller, but we were going to the park, and like I said, he would ride his little scooter and I would go for walks. But I look at it now differently maybe than you would in like traditional medicine, because there are so many things that could be potentially avoided if we looked for certain genetic markers earlier in life. Like just for example, your clotting factors. You have ascending and a descending scale for the way your blood clots. So what happens is like you cut your arm and then your body has to create a clot, and so it has these little factors that are making a clot, and that's your ascending site. And when it gets to the top, you have your clot, and then afterwards, the descending is what breaks down the clot. Well, a lot of people who end up with chronic infections, whether they're UTI, possibly some of the long COVID, long haulers, uh, certainly some of the ones that end up looking like they may have some things going on, cardiac type stuff. A lot of these people have issues on the descending side and they don't know it. Um, I was one of them. I did not know that I had factor disorder on the descending side, which basically makes it where once my body creates a clot, it's hard to break it down. And it's not just on the surface of your skin; it's with your body. So that's part of what my bladder problem has been. Is every time I have an infection, the body attacks it, it tries to wall this off. Well, then it can't break it back off. Well, if, just for example, if I had been tested for this at a younger age, they could have went, Mary, you probably should be on like an antifibrinolytic for the rest of your life. And it's possible that this maybe could have been avoided because it wouldn't have been walled off in the same way. Now, it's not medical advice, and I'm not saying that that's entirely the case, but the saying is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I totally believe that. That, if there were some things we looked into earlier in life that we could go, oh, this is going to be a problem when you're in your 40s. So we need to get that now. That would be something that we really need to, that I feel like healthcare needs to change, and assess differently. But yes, that's that's about that.
And that's so wonderful. That's really wonderful. And Mary, if after this nice, beautiful conversation, my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
They can contact me at let's see, I have a Twitter account. I believe I am Mary at Let's Talk UTI. And I also have an email account that is Mary at letstalkuti.org. You can send me an email, send me a Twitter, and we'll talk. We'll talk. I'll help you however I can.
And I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that our listener can find them easily. And with that, we have come to the end of this show. And to my listeners, Mary's journey reminds us that healing isn't linear. It's layered, messy, and profoundly professional. But when we refuse to give up, when we trust in our intuition, and when we become fierce advocates for our own well-being, incredible transformation becomes possible. So keep going, keep believing, and keep choosing your own health. Until next time, stay well, stay peaceful.